Hey girl, and welcome to my video guide on how to get your ex-boyfriend back. I've been in your position before, and I know how miserable you must be feeling. Probably all you want to do right now is just curl up on the couch, eat some ice cream, and feel sorry for yourself. And honestly, who wouldn't? But if you came here to find out how to get your guy back, I have some great news. With the right approach, it is not only possible to get him back into your arms, but also to make your relationship stronger than it ever was before, even if you think your situation is hopeless right now. But it is extremely important that you decide on a solid plan right now before you are tempted to make a bad move by instinct and blow your chances in the process, at which point the ice cream will be the least of your problems. In the next few minutes, I'm going to cover 3 things. Number 1, the 3 ground rules for winning your boyfriend back. Number 2, I'm going to tell you about my favorite real-life example of how one of my close friends got her guy back. And number 3, I'm going to tell you where to go from here and what you need to do next. Okay, let's get crackin'. Most of the time, it's good to do what your instincts tell you to do. Your gut feeling is right most of the time, and if you follow it, things generally turn out okay. However, this does not apply to breakup situations. This is the one time where your instincts are totally wrong. Believe me, if you want to get your guy back, you will have to act completely different from what your heart tells you to do. So stop what you're doing for a moment. Try to control your emotions as I take you through these 3 ground rules that you should follow to maximize your chances of getting your guy back. Of course, every breakup situation is different. You may feel like your situation is so different that the common rules don't apply to you. However, I strongly advise you to keep these ground rules in mind, no matter what your situation is. This is because guys, believe it or not, act and behave in very predictable ways. So no matter what your situation, playing a bit of psychology with him is going to change the way he feels about you for the better. Okay, here we go. The first rule is the simplest and most difficult at the same time. Ground rule number 1, be strong. However heartbroken you feel, trust me, your ex-boyfriend is not going to want you back if you show him that you're miserable and or needy. You probably have the urge to let him know just how terrible you feel and how much you miss him, so that he will feel, feel what? Pity? A guy doesn't fall for a girl out of pity, ever. You'd be amazed, though, how many women try to use this tactic to get an ex-boyfriend back. Please don't be one of them. To get your ex-boyfriend back, you will have to be confident and strong. Girls, I cannot stress this enough. By now, you may be thinking, easy for you to say, but I just feel terrible. How can I act confident when I feel as rotten as I do? Well, of course acting confident can be difficult right now, because after a breakup, your self-esteem may hit a low point. Try this little psychological exercise for a minute. It's really helpful. Imagine how it will be when you are back together with your boyfriend. Not like in a memory, but in the future. That part is very important. Experience how it feels to be back together after you've been apart all this time. Really feel his arms around you again. Feel his love in how tightly he holds you. Hear the sweet things he whispers in your ear. How happy he is that he and you are together again. Try to make these images in your head as real as possible. Now realize yourself and make a mental note right now that many couples get together after a breakup every single day. This is not just a fantasy. You can achieve this goal if you put your mind to it. People get back together after the most horrible breakups. Even lots of people that shouldn't be together still get a second or third chance. Why? Well, it's just a matter of biology and psychology. Biology, it's the chemistry between the two of you. If it felt right, it probably was right as far as Mother Nature is concerned. The two of you share a strong connection. Subconsciously, your bodies have decided that the two of you are a good fit, i.e. that you're suited to mate and have babies with each other eventually. And your and his bodies pick up on that. The second part is psychology. This one is more complicated, and this is where you can put your magic to work. Psychology is actually pretty simple if you know what you're doing. The only problem is, people act in the wrong way to get their results, and mess up their chances in the process. However, if you know what you're doing, you can play your ex's feelings like an instrument. He is still tied to you biologically. You've been together, right? So this shows that he and you are a biological match. The problem you are facing right now is psychological, which means that you can overcome it with the right strategy. In my experience, if you want it hard enough, you can get your ex-boyfriend back. You just have to be strong and smart about it. Okay, I hope that by now you know that you do have a good chance to get your ex-boyfriend back. You only need the right information on what you should and should not do. So let's continue. Ground rule number 2, limit contact. One area where you need to be very strict with yourself is contact. Whatever you do, don't harass your ex. This will definitely drive him away from you. Instinctively, you want to call him because you want things to get back to how they used to be between you. And to get back together, you first need to make contact, right? Right? Wrong. Please, in your heart, you already know this. Don't call him. After a guy breaks up with you, he will regard your repeated phone calls as stalking or harassing way sooner than you think. And even more important, since you're giving him confirmation that you still think about him, he will not feel any pain of missing you. This is definitely not helping to get him back. So whatever you do, don't call him, unless you have your plan to win him back all laid out. More about that later. If you have difficulty fighting the urge to call him, then try to keep your focus on your goal, getting your boyfriend back into your arms. Try the psychological exercise that we did before. Like with most things in life, if you keep the end result in mind, it will just be so much easier. Ground rule number 3, find other things to focus on. This may not seem like much of a hands-on tactic, but believe me, it is actually a very powerful method. Let me explain. If you can find a new hobby or activity to dedicate some of your attention to, you will have less time to miss your ex. Apart from that, you will regain the feeling that you are in control of your life and experiencing new and interesting things. Those two factors lead to something very valuable about your goal. You will have more self-confidence, and that definitely shows. And your ex-boyfriend will be able to notice that you have moved on with your life, or at least that you're not suffering 24/7 now that he's gone. This works like a red rag on a bull for most guys. That covers the basics. I hope that you've learned that acting on instinct is a very dangerous thing to do when you try to win your ex-boyfriend back. What if I broke all the rules? If you have to come to this point and think, oh no, I broke all those rules and then some, don't despair. It's human. Like I said, it's the natural urge after a breakup to do exactly the wrong things. This doesn't mean the situation is hopeless. Far from it. You may need a bit more help to fix things, but you still have a big chance to turn this situation around. It's up to you now, if you want to continue flying blind or take matters into your own hands and follow a structured plan to get your ex-boyfriend back. You can if you're committed. So let's continue with one of my favorite real-life examples of how to get your ex-boyfriend back. Of course, this method won't be useful to everyone, but if you feel that it might suit your situation, I recommend you give it a try. A breakup to makeup example with my friend Donna. Me and my friend Donna came up with this when her boyfriend of 3 years suddenly broke up with her because he felt that he needed his space and he wasn't sure what he was feeling for her anymore. Donna was devastated, and she loved David with all of her heart and didn't want to lose him. Luckily, Donna was a psychology student, so she knew a thing or two about male psychology. So instead of following her urges to call him up, she did this. Number 1, instead of pleading and begging for him, she just let him go, for the moment. Number 2, she tried the best she could to not let him see how much the breakup hurt her. Number 3, and then she took salsa lessons. This may seem like a strange strategy, and of course Donna had to push herself to do it, but it worked out brilliantly. It was a big boost for her self-esteem. A lot of guys at the dancing class were giving her attention. It gave her something to focus on apart from David. It gave her a great sense of adventure, of doing something new with her life. And most of all, David heard about the salsa lessons. Yeah, we made sure he did. And he was extremely jealous about it. It's important to know that guys are very visually minded. When David heard about the dancing lessons, he immediately visualized Donna with those other men dancing close together and probably starting to feel something for one of them. Before she knew it, David was leaving messages on her cell saying he made a big mistake and they had to talk. Of course, Donna made him work for it a bit, but then she took him back. This happened over 2 years ago, and Donna and David are still together to this day. So there you see, if you play your cards right, make a solid plan, and follow it through, then you will have a good chance of getting your ex-boyfriend back. Well, these were my ground rules, and a real-life example that you can use when you try to get your ex-boyfriend back. I hope you found this article helpful. If you are still a little uncertain on how to proceed from here, then I would really advise you to get one of the professional Get Your Ex-Boyfriend Back systems that are available online. Think about it. How reassuring and empowering would it feel if someone told you exactly what to say and do in every conceivable situation with your ex? By someone who has helped thousands of girls like you to turn their breakup around. Wouldn't that be exactly what you need right now? There are a lot of different systems available online, and I have read almost every one of them. Some of them are really brilliant. I can't give their content away in this article because it's copyrighted material, and I don't own the copyrights, unfortunately. But since a lot of girls were asking me for it, I decided to write a follow-up to this video guide, where I spend some time talking about which guides I invested in when I was going through my own relationship troubles, and exactly which ones I found the most useful. One of them in particular is an absolute must in my opinion, and I probably wouldn't be back with my boyfriend right now if I hadn't read it. So if you're still wondering, what do I do next? Then spending a few minutes reading this follow-up article of mine is probably a good next step. Click on the link directly below this video and you'll be taken straight there. Whatever your situation is and whatever you plan to do, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my guide. I hope you found it useful, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Maybe I'll see you over on my site sometime. The link to it is right below this video.